Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you. I apologize for coming in late. I had a hearing in another committee to go to first, but so I hope I'm not actually repeating questions that were already asked. But Mr. Hall, as part of the Recovery Act, Congress increased the AMT exemption to spare nearly 20 million taxpayers from the AMT liability. And if we're unable to reach a deal on AMT, how would it slow the recovery process?
Well, I think the key issue there is, depending on estimates, the original AMT impacted about 1% of taxpayers, and that was 1% by definition of the more wealthy taxpayers, and I think that was its intent. Recently, estimates, particularly in states like New York, New Jersey, California, who have a higher state income tax, as many as 8 to 10% of taxpayers are affected by AMT.
And how many of those are small business owners?
Well, again, back to my one of my original comments, the thing that scares me most about the impact of this exemption on small business is all of them have to do the calculation anyway. Even if it doesn't have a revenue impact to the Treasury, still causes a drain on the small business because they're having to go through the process. But estimates have been as many as 10% of small businesses will be affected by AMT, and overall, 1 out of 5, 20%. Would be affected by AMT. And again, the biggest concern there for me, back to your original question, is that is going to be tax out of their pocket. That is money that they would be using to finance business investment, and whether that's dollar for dollar or that kind of changes their perception or their optimism on their future, the uncertainty involved, all those things put an optimism strain on small business, which then translates back into lower investment. So that's my real concern. Uncertainty, but then also having the exemption amount being the only thing that's changed. It's only going to capture people in the lower income levels anyway, which again wasn't the original intent of AMT to begin with.
Thank you. Mr. Farashi, the biodiesel industry is clearly facing challenges in the current economy, but despite these obstacles, I know you're very aware of the producer in my district, Lake Erie Biofuels, who's actually now changed their name, but they are finding a way to thrive in this really tough business conditions. Can you maybe elaborate a little bit on the role of tax incentives in the successes of firms such as Lake Erie Biodiesel?
Sure. They have done a fantastic job, and when you talk to them, they have a business model that is utilizing some feedstock that other providers own, and that's a huge component of the input costs. And they make a quality fuel. The state of Pennsylvania as well has done some good things at the state level to promote biodiesel use, which is building a market there. And we have several other biodiesel producers in the state who are weathering what is a pretty difficult storm for the industry right now. All that said, the tax incentive still plays a key role because it is performing that role in the marketplace of making biodiesel price competitive with conventional diesel fuel. And you have to have that, especially in the absence of the RFS being in place right now, to have consumers purchase the fuel and actually use it in the marketplace. So absent that tax incentive, I think that any biodiesel producer in the country is going to would have a difficult time making ends meet.
Do you think any of them would be able to survive in the long term if there was not the short-term tax?
I think that you would see people, to the degree that you couldn't claim the incentive. I think you would see people start to mothball their production facilities and waiting to see if the incentive were to come back. But if it were to disappear for a long period of time, you would see the production cease, and then you would start to lose the production capacity in the country that we have built up since 2004 when we put the incentive in place, and that would be a real shame because we do have the capacity now we have commercial scale production of low carbon, clean burning diesel replacement fuel. We're going to be able to meet the RFS standards in terms of making volume and displacing petroleum, and if that tax incentive goes away, you're just not going to be able to do it.
Thank you. I yield back. Thank you.